LSU just sent a loud message to the entire SEC, and if you missed it, you missed a battle that had everything: intensity, physicality, momentum swings, and a fired-up Kim Mulkey making it clear that the Tigers are not backing down from any. This wasn't just another conference win over Mississippi State. This was a statement. A grit-and-grind showdown where LSU had to dig deep, respond to adversity, and prove why they belong in the championship conversation. And when the final buzzer sounded, the energy exploded. Mulkey's reaction. The players' fire. The crowd on its feet. It felt like March came early. If you love SEC basketball, elite coaching moments, and behind-the-scenes post-game energy, you're in the right place. So before we break down everything Kim Mulkey said after LSU's big win, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for non-stop women's college basketball coverage, and drop a comment below. Is LSU the most dangerous team in the SEC right now? Let's get into it. LSU walked into another intense SEC showdown knowing that nothing would come easy. When the final buzzer sounded, the Tigers had secured a hard-fought victory over Mississippi State, and once again, Kim Mulkey stood at the center of it all. From the opening tip, the energy inside the arena felt different. Mississippi State wasn't intimidated. They came out aggressive, physical, and determined to disrupt LSU's rhythm. Early possessions were scrappy. Loose balls hit the floor. Bodies collided in the paint. The Bulldogs wanted to turn the game into a battle of toughness. LSU responded the only way a Mulkey-coached team knows how, with edge. Mulkey paced the sideline from the very first possession. Her voice cut through the noise. Every defensive lapse drew immediate correction. Every hustle play earned applause. She demanded sharp rotations, quick ball movement, and relentless rebounding. The first quarter was tight. Mississippi State knocked down contested shots and slowed LSU's transition game. For a few minutes, it felt like the Tigers were playing on their heels. Then LSU settled in. The defensive pressure intensified. Passing lanes disappeared. A key steal led to a fast break finish that ignited the crowd. Another defensive stop turned into a second-chance bucket. Slowly but surely, LSU began asserting control. Mulkey signaled for a defensive adjustment midway through the first half, and it changed everything. LSU switched more aggressively on screens, forcing Mississippi State's guards to make quicker decisions. The Bulldogs began forcing shots late in the shot clock. By halftime, LSU had carved out a narrow but meaningful lead. In the locker room, Mulkey wasn't satisfied. She praised the effort, but she challenged the execution. According to players afterward, she reminded them that SEC games are rarely about highlight plays. They're about discipline. They're about surviving momentum swings. And they're about imposing your will when fatigue sets. The third quarter tested that message immediately. Mississippi State stormed out of the break with urgency. A pair of three-pointers cut into LSU's lead. A turnover led to a transition layup. Suddenly, the game tightened again. For a brief moment, the crowd grew uneasy. Mulkey didn't. She calmly called a timeout. Her message was simple: reset, defend, trust your system. Out of that timeout, LSU delivered its best stretch of basketball. The Tigers forced back-to-back turnovers. A deep jumper extended the lead. The bench erupted. The defense tightened even further. It wasn't flashy, it was forceful. LSU controlled the glass, limited second-chance opportunities, and executed offensively with patience. The ball moved side to side. Shots came in rhythm. The Tigers weren't rushing, they were dictating. By the fourth quarter, LSU's confidence was visible. Mississippi State continued fighting, throwing everything they had at the Tigers. But LSU responded to every push with composure. When the Bulldogs trimmed the lead, LSU answered with a big shot. When the tempo sped up, LSU slowed it down and ran through their set. That maturity is something Mulkey has emphasized all season. After the final buzzer, players exchanged hugs, but there was no over-celebration. This wasn't about hype. It was about growth. Then came the post-game press conference. Mulkey stepped to the podium composed but intense. She began by crediting Mississippi State for their toughness. She called them a team that never stops competing. She acknowledged that games like this are the kind that shape teams heading into March. But she also made it clear that LSU expects more from itself. Mulkey highlighted the defensive performance as a turning point. She praised the communication on switches and the improved rebounding in the second half. She noted that LSU's ability to respond after the third quarter run showed maturity. However, she didn't ignore the flaws. Mulkey pointed out stretches where LSU's offensive spacing wasn't sharp enough. She mentioned a few careless turnovers that she said won't cut it against elite teams. Her tone wasn't angry, it was demanding. That balance is part of her identity. Mulkey has built championship programs by refusing to allow complacency. A win is celebrated, but improvement is mandatory. She also talked about leadership in the locker room. According to Mulkey, the veterans kept the team steady during the game's most chaotic moments. She emphasized that championship teams aren't just talented, they're connected. Chemistry matters, she told reporters. When you trust each other, you play freer. Mulkey spent time discussing depth as well. She credited bench players for maintaining intensity when starters rested. She explained that long SEC seasons test endurance, and teams that rely on one or two stars often struggle. LSU, she believes, is building something deeper than that. Another major theme in her comments was resilience. Mulkey reflected on how the team has grown in handling adversity. Early in the season, momentum swings occasionally rattled them. Now, she sees a group that stays composed when opponents make runs. That composure was evident against Mississippi State. Every time the Bulldogs threatened, LSU responded with discipline rather than panic. Mulkey also acknowledged the expectations surrounding LSU. At a program with recent championship history, every game carries weight. Every performance is scrutinized. But she made it clear that pressure is a privilege. These players came here to compete for titles, she said. They want the spotlight. As questions continued, Mulkey's competitive fire surfaced. When asked about defensive intensity late in the game, she smiled slightly and said, "That's who we are when we lock in." It was belief. The win over Mississippi State wasn't just another mark in the standings. It was another example of LSU proving it can win different types of games, fast or slow, high-scoring or defensive battle. Mulkey stressed that versatility is critical heading toward postseason play. She also made a point about preparation. According to her, LSU's practice sessions leading up to the game were focused and intense. She credited assistant coaches for crafting a defensive game plan that disrupted Mississippi State's strengths. As the press conference wrapped up, Mulkey's message was she reminded everyone that the SEC schedule offers no breathing room. There are no nights off. The next opponent will present new challenges. And LSU must continue evolving. Back in the locker room, players echoed that mindset. They talked about learning to close games. They talked about trusting each other. They talked about holding one another accountable. The Mississippi State win reinforced something important: LSU can grind out victories when shots aren't falling perfectly. They can weather runs. They can impose their defensive identity. That's a dangerous formula. For Mulkey, though, satisfaction is temporary. She expects sharper execution, stronger rebounding, cleaner possessions, and even more defensive consistency. That's the standard. As fans left the arena, the buzz centered not just on the score but on the way LSU handled the moment. It wasn't about individual stat lines. It was about collective effort. It was about resilience. And it was about a team that looks increasingly prepared for bigger stages ahead. With each SEC victory, LSU builds confidence. With each challenge, they refine their identity. And with Mulkey at the helm, the message remains constant: compete relentlessly, correct mistakes quickly, and never lose your edge. The road ahead will test them even more. But if this win showed anything, it's that LSU is learning how to respond when pressure rises. And in March, that may be the difference between a good season and a historic one. For now, the Tigers move forward, battle-tested, focused, and guided by a coach who refuses to let them settle. The victory over Mississippi State wasn't perfect, but it was powerful. And under Kim Mulkey, powerful is often just the beginning. What a night for LSU! What a response! And once again, Kim Mulkey made it clear that this team is built for pressure, built for big moments, and built to chase something special. The win over Mississippi State wasn't just about the scoreboard, it was about toughness, adjustments, leadership, and finishing strong when it mattered most. If this is the level LSU is bringing down the stretch, the rest of the SEC better be on notice. Now I want to hear from Did LSU prove they're the team to beat? What was the biggest turning point in the game? And how far can this team go? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, let's talk about it. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more in-depth coverage, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next big post-game reaction. More big games are coming. More moments are ahead. And we'll be here for all of it. See you in the next one.